mate. We're good.
Hello and welcome to the Call of Duty Vista. Today we have got caster, observer, militant man, and Pablo's better half, MajorChafing. How are we doing?
I'm very good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on. I am an active listener of all the Noctem content at the moment. You guys are absolutely smashing it and throwing it out left, right, and centre. So yeah, more, and more, please, lads, please.
Oh, there will be more. Don't worry about that. Oh, honestly, like, do you know what? My brain's gone already. Sorry. Go to the notes, Jack. All right, Major. Honestly, I don't know what's going on today. I've just been like all day. I've been staring at spreadsheets, and now I'm absolutely chilled. But we'll make it work. Don't worry. I'll cut this bit. So, Major, would you mind giving us a little bit of background about you? And how you got into COD?
Oh, okay. Yeah, how long you got now? So it's a bit of a weird one. I've always played COD. Like I've been around playing just casually since COD 4. Obviously through the years, never really competitive was never really a thing for me. Even watching like competitive COD, I remember watching the Black Ops finals with was it Rico Impact. So I saw that and didn't really kind of take too much of a keen eye to it. Carried on playing multiplayer with mates and quite chilled. And then Cold War was the one where I was at uni at the time, looking for something to do, and I was on game battles actually, and so I was like, right, how do you join a team on COD? I was really bored. Like everyone that I was playing with in pubs was pissing me off because they were terrible. So I thought, you know what, let's play a bit of Cold War on game battles. Joined a team, and yeah, the casting story is again another bit of a tangent and a bit of a weird one. I was actually playing with these guys in league play that I was teaming with at the time, and I don't know why I was being a bit of a tit. Shock horror, considering the way me and Pablo are now. But I died. I was really bored. I think I had a few beers, and I started just kind of mockingly putting an American accent over my mate while he was playing. I was like, "Oh my god, he's rotating. He's gonna get him killed," and that sort of stuff. And my mate was like, "You're actually all right at that. You should probably try and give it a go." And he told me that there's apparently people that cast. So I was like, I don't know. I'll give it a go. Very stiff, very nervous, and I actually. So at the time, the team that I was playing with was kind of like alongside Dashy's team at the time. So it was Dashy, Tesco, Scar, and Paige on Cold War. And I was so nervous about it. I was like, right, I'm going to need some form of rehearsal. So I said to Dashy and the lads, I was like, do you mind if I just cast over a scrim, like just to myself? I'll record it and watch it back and see how bad it is. And yeah, I casted over one of their scrims, and they were like, yeah, no, it's all right, it's all right. So I was like, sound, happy days. Ended up casting in the MCA. I don't know if you guys kept an eye on the MCA tournaments back then with like COSI. It was a long time ago. It feels like I've been here forever now, even though I've been three years. Casted over that, casted over a grand final, got a lot of lovely comments and a lot of premium gas, to be honest, from that one. And yeah, just kept it going, mate. So in a summary, I'm just somebody who likes to talk over Call of Duty and make really shit jokes from time to time. So I don't think there's much more to it than that.
Those shit jokes are some of my favourite moments because I'm like, that is my sense of humour. Like,
yeah. Oh, me and Pablo are like the definition of just crap dad jokes. Like there's so much stuff that even some of the stuff he says, I'm like, oh, that's a terrible one. So I mean, if you enjoy that stuff, then happy days. But yeah, we do look at each other sometimes and be like, well, what has just come out of your mouth?
So when you listen back to that scrim footage, yeah, what was it like in your head?
It was so bad. Like it was I think it was maybe a couple of years ago. It was in Vanguard that I still had the VOD somewhere. I can't find it because I really wanted to go back, but you could tell I was really nervous because I hadn't streamed at the time. And it was literally like my voice was so monotone. Like I have a habit sometimes if I'm trying to think about something when I'm talking about it, my voice goes really flatline. Like you can always tell when I'm trying to think about what I'm saying. But it was literally like there was no enthusiasm. It was like, yeah, he gets one, he gets two. Oh, that's a nice kill. Like there was nothing to it. Like no emotion whatsoever. But I think that was just from nerves because when you put yourself out on the internet, kind of like for the first time ever, it's just like, oh god, everyone's got an opinion. It's going to be terrible. And then I think over time, you just kind of learn not to really give much of a shit of what people say. I think it's just something as you get old anyway. But yeah, the first cast that I did was terrible. It was absolutely awful, and it was just me as well. Like I look back at it now, and I have no idea how me and Pabs and the other guys did like solo casting because it is really, really difficult now. I'm so used to being able to just pass it to Pablo and take a breather,
Yeah.
whereas before it was like constant play by play. It was like gunfight, 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 gunfight. But yeah, like, it was really bad at the start. I'm glad I'm not quite exactly where I was in that sense. A bit more emotion involved in it now.
Yeah. Hey, like Cop, you've done some casting recently as well, right? So like you must feel that pain.
Can we call it that? I don't know if we can call it casting, but I don't know. I guess it's the same as Major though, to be honest. Like when I done like the community cups, like we were never gonna cast over them, then you just find yourself on stream like by yourself and you're like, "Oh, I should really start talking about something." So I was like, let's give it a go. And then after the first one, they were like, no, you're actually pretty good at it. Do you mind casting like RXP like grand finals tomorrow? And I'm like, oh Jesus, don't know about this. So we do that, and it's like, oh yeah, you're good at it. You know, can you do another? And then you just somehow you fall into the position somehow of being labelled a caster. But I mean, I don't know how these two do it, to be honest, because I just get flustered every time I do. So props to them. I don't think I'm ever going to be to their caliber, but it's fun. I enjoy it. Right. I think if you love COD, you'll just step into anything around it if you get the opportunity. Like never say no. That's the way I see it.
Well, Pabs was kind of similar. He literally, I don't know if he mentioned it when he was on with you guys, but he literally ran tournaments, and then when it got to the games, he would have it in the codcast view, and he was like, there was nothing else to talk about. I might as well talk about the COD, and he kind of fell
Yeah.
into it as well. I don't think there's anyone who's actively kind of woken up and gone, you know what, today I am going to pursue a career in casting. I don't think many
That's
people,
what I always
many people
say.
have done that. Yeah, because it's just nothing that you want to be a player. It's kind of like in football. It's like if you're a left back, you're a failed left winger essentially. So it's like casters are effectively just kind of like shambolic players who kind of still enjoy the game and like watching it. So I think it's just one of those where you fall into it. And yeah, because me and Pads are terrible, it was kind of like, yeah, okay, this is our next best thing that we could do to kind of have some form of involvement that isn't like Div 10 XP. So
I think you need to like because that's what I noticed because that was one of the big like standout points of the feedback I was getting was like, oh, you notice everything on the mini map sort of thing. So I think like to be a half decent caster, you have to be like an ex-comp player, like not at a top level, but you have to understand how the game plays properly to fully keep track with everything and all the key points that are going on. So I think in a way, yeah, like anyone around that has casted, like 99% of them, they probably are failed COD players if you put it that way. But
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just,
you
the
do.
game's the
You got
game.
you got to have you got to have some baseline because
Y-
otherwise you'll just be waffling. I mean, me and Pabs can't talk about waffle. That is like 90% of our gig. But you got to have like some form of like information that's useful to people without because you can kind of see through people who I say I've got no shade to anyone who casts, but if people cast the game and they kind of, especially if you're controlling observing when you do it as well, like quite a big, you can't put like a price on observing at the moment. So and shout out Jacko who was doing the one
Mm.
for us all at the Katana Lan. There is like a real art to observing. Like it is not easy. It's very easy to switch between players, but like for big moments, especially when you're looking to try and get like clips of players and that kind of thing, you've really got to get the right moment at the right time. And we had kind of like a running joke in the clutch observing part where you have phases even as a really good observer where you'll just pick a gunfight and every person you switch to dies and you get like 5 or 6 in a row and it's the most frustrating thing. You're like, oh, he's on a flank, oh, he's dead, oh, he's dead, and then you go through like kill cam, kill cam, kill cam, and you're like, okay, no, this is terrible. I need to just pick someone on the other side of the map so that the viewers aren't going, hang on, dead, dead, dead. It's yeah, there's a real knack to kind of being able to paint that picture, which I don't think a lot of people have much of an appreciation for, especially when it's observers behind the scenes that you don't see. Like me and Pablo's casters, it's like people know us as front and center, but to a good broadcast like was on Katana, you've got so many people in the background. Like Ben, who was doing stats, for example. I remember he was sat there, he was head down day, like didn't
Yeah.
you're talking about spreadsheets. He literally was down in his laptop. That photo that Pabs got, I said to Pabs before, I was like, please get a photo of Ben so that we can tweet it and be like, hello, this person exists, by the way. Because when me and Pabs are doing the broadcast and we go, oh yeah, Niall's got a 1.98, that like half a second of information has taken Ben like 2 days of hours of work to get that stat from scoreboards and leaderboards from 32 teams. And it's just one of those things that a lot of people don't necessarily kind of, it's not necessarily through just ignoring. It's, I think a lot of people might be a bit naive to the fact that there is a lot of stuff that goes on behind all of the broadcasts and the broadcast team, and that's why like whenever me and Pabs get the chance, we always try and shout everyone out because we've been those people doing spreadsheets or doing observing, and it's always it feels good to feel like you're appreciated, which I say a small compliment can go a long way for some people. So it's always worth kind of flagging up the people that really do put the effort in, especially when it's one where sometimes it's voluntary, it's not paid, and it just goes completely unseen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a hard enough job, like you say, reading the map. Then like you know that thousands of people could be watching, right? And you're like, oh, I want to make sure that my casters are getting good stuff to talk about as well. Like, and when you do like the community cups and stuff with Pablo, did you? I understand that you were the observer of the two at the same time.
Yeah.
How do you find balancing that? Like,
me and Pabs have got like, because Pabs is like, Pabs hates it when I give him any form of compliment. Like Pabs is like allergic to any sign of like, oh good, you've done really well there. He'll be like, nah, I'm rubbish. But he buys me all the time. So I do the production, the observing, and then obviously casting game as well. So like when it's like we're revealing all the secrets now. But like when the game's finished, I always say to Pabs, like he knows it now as a script pretty much. As when the score of the map comes up, just monologue. Like Pabs is brilliant at buying time for anything and can talk and talk and talk. And while he's doing that, I'm like, you'll see me now every time the map ends. You'll probably notice it because I've said it. You'll see me kind of doing this and looking at the screen and like tapping away and nodding along. I'm not listening to anything he's saying for 90% of it until I get the map scoring, and I'm like, yeah, so, and then completely tangent because I've not been able to listen where I'm typing all the map scores and the graphics and that kind of stuff in. So yeah, it's those community cups and those 2Ks which are all day. They can be gruelers because it is production, observing, and casting for the best part of say 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours. But it's one of those where it keeps me fully occupied. I get so engrossed in it. But it's a lot of fun. But at the end of the broadcast, my brain is just absolute putty.
I'm not surprised. I mean, because Stings, you've done a little bit of casting, right? Did you do some for Apex as well?
I did do some for Apex. Yeah, that is a whole different ball game. There's so much to look at on a game like Apex because there's like 20 teams, rotation. You gotta look at everything, and you got to even know like where zones end and stuff like that. It gets really in depth, and it is fun to cast though. It's really good.
Yeah, I can imagine Apex is like a game where if you might have very little action, and then all of a sudden if you're an observer, you've got to find that one moment. Otherwise, the stream just becomes a bit benign, and you'll see kills come up, and then you're like, well, there's loads of action, and we just completely missed it. Because I did a tournament. When was it now? It was maybe a year and a half ago for Mina Mendes. I don't know if you guys saw it. So it was a Warzone tournament.
Yeah.
And mate, that was hard. I only did production in that one. I think it was Bryce and I think Andy and Enigma was casting that one. But you've got to capture moments in a game where you have silence for 95% and then gunfights which change it all. And if you don't catch that gunfight, everyone goes, well, that was a bit of a boring one. But if you catch it, all of a sudden the stream's amazing. So I dread to think what it's like in Apex, because in COD you can normally switch to someone and something's going on. So if at worst you fat finger it and you just switch to the next person, they're probably doing something that is relatively substantial. Whereas in Apex you could just switch to someone who's literally just picking up a gun and on the complete wrong side of the map, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh hang on, I need to switch back now.
Honestly, like madness. I think I've been quite lucky, like, because when we do watch parties and stuff, it's usually me doing the observing, and like I do fat finger quite a lot, and the amount of times I've like switched to someone who's mid gunfight and accidentally switched off it at the same time, and then you try and switch back, and then I'm like, oh shit, what keys are my hands on?
I try and give him like subtle hints. I'm like, player 2 on that mini map is making a great route, and I'm like, Jack, clock it, switch. That's incredible. And then we're on player 4, and then he goes, oh shit, and then we're on player 6. It's like, oh, well, we've missed that one, Jack.
Yeah, because there is quite a lot of communication as a caster that you try and give to like the observers. Again, if someone's on a flank, me and Pabs have kind of like our phrases that when you're kind of autopiloting in a cast, thinking of something else, you naturally just say certain things, and one of them is like, obviously keep an eye on number 4, and that's literally kind of a hint to say, right, observer, boom, switch to that person. But it is very, very difficult to kind of perfect. I think where we've had Jacko observed for us in the past. With Clutch, and again, he's someone who at the time Jacko used to do his own streams, and he used to do casting and observing, so he kind of knows what people are looking for, and I think that's what makes Jacko a really, really good observer. It's very easy to be an observer and just switch between players, but when you're trying to cast over a game, one advantage that I have when I do the production and the observing is I know who I'm switching to, so I can literally link everything that I'm doing as I kind of do the cast and switch between the players. But when you've got another individual, you've got to kind of have this like telepathy and kind of understanding for what they're looking to, and it's not an easy thing to do. And I think that's why Jacko has been kind of applauded, rightfully so, as being a very, very good observer, because he's been in that position before. I know he casted a hell of a lot in Vanguard as well when me and Pablo were doing stuff. He knows what the casters are looking for. So again, important flanks, because a lot of people will think, "Oh, I'll switch to a flank," but I think it might have been in the podcast with Pabs actually, where he said he tried doing a bit of observing again after we'd been doing it for a little while, and he switched to someone on the flank who is about 35 seconds away from the gunfight. So you think, oh, it's a really interesting switch, and then you realize, oh, that was bog awful. There's nothing going on here. So it's it really is an art to be able to get that right. And I think we're kind of blessed with Jacko, especially at that Katana Lan, because he did such a good job of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we can jump into the Katana Lan a little bit. What was your like favorite match of the Katana Lan?
It's a weird one. Favorite match was probably the one that me and Pabs didn't cast, which was the Nathan Parker one, because day one, it's like the Katana trailer. Nathan Parker. Parker. But that match was so good to watch, because we had a whole day where you've got big seeds, like big fish against little fish, best of threes, 2-0. It's over in 25 minutes, and we had a few of those where, as casters, you don't want to be like, yeah, this team is going to get railed. You kind of try and morph it in a way that's a little bit more kind of optimistic. And it sometimes can be difficult to do it if a team's getting absolutely plastered, like 250 to 80 and that kind of stuff. But when we had that game with the Annex lads, that was really good to watch. Me and Pabs were up on the mez kind of watching over it. And again, that for me and Pabs, that's our first like proper LAN. I know we had the Sheffield one, but that wasn't really anything special. So seeing that environment and that kind of that hype, especially as well because of all the accusations and everything that came, there was a storyline to it, and like Brody and Andy will probably say similar things. If you can get a storyline as a caster, it's gold dust. If you can get a good legitimate storyline where there's a little bit of beef or just anything, or a bit of backbone to the story, you can get a lot more emotive with what you're kind of casting over and what you're watching as well. Like, I suppose you guys can kind of relate to kind of the bad guys in COD, like when you had Aches and like Scrappy now, for example. You'll always get those games where Scrappy is involved in them. If he loses, everyone's going to kind of have a bit of like ecstasy because the bad guy has lost it. And I think a lot of people underappreciate kind of having bad guys in the scene. You can't have like a good kind of character arc without them either being a dickhead or throwing a bit of shade, and you get that kind of emotional connection to the game rather than everyone just having a game and it's like everyone shakes hands, GG's, yeah, the lads were great. It's like, it's a bit boring, isn't it? You want you want something with a bit of spice to it. So it's something that when you get it, it's amazing. And I think that Annex game had it perfectly.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I think one of my other highlights was Team UK against Atlas Lions.
Yes,
when the Team UK owner was giving Rico some stick, and then at the end Rico's just stood up and he's like, "What?"
Yeah, he's a big lad. Rico is tall, by the way. I didn't realise how tall he was. I'm sorry. I was like, "Oh, hello, Rico." I won't say anything horrible about you anymore. He's a really sound lad, though, Rico. And seeing him up, and because he's got that Dutch kind of twang to his accent as well, he was like, "Fuck off!" And it was really good. But yeah, that's another key game. I hope that in kind of future events and that kind of thing that we get those close series. Again, day one is usually expected where you don't get very many close ones.
Yeah.
And then obviously as you get closer towards the business end of it, that's when you see all the real emotion coming out. And again, because they're playing for a hell of a lot of money as well.
I mean, did we see any emotion from our lads, Jack? Because I think they were like, it's like four robots. They were strictly business of the day. I don't think I was like all day. I was like, please just give me one clip, lads. Not one of them stood up for the entire day, man.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I think because they expected to win. Yeah, most people expected us to win, and it's just like I don't think they really, as bad as it sounds, they saw. I don't think they saw it as an achievement as much. But it is an achievement.
The pressure.
But like, yeah, it's
they
just
had to win.
They had to win, yeah. And like,
if gone.
I mean, even from my perspective, I think like when we won grand finals, it was like more of a than a
Relief.
yeah. And I was like, oh my god, we've done it. And then I turned to my side and Jack's got the fucking camera in my face. And I'm like, I should have probably put a bit more emotion into that, but it was very much like we got to grand finals. Like we're 95% of the way here. We've already beaten this team in this tournament, right? Hopefully, it's a quick 4-0, but it wasn't. And like it was very entertaining to watch. But I think, well, Copy will tell you how nervous I get when I watch. So like,
yeah, he's going to be in a hospital bed 1 year coming, I reckon, from an event. But our lads, it was like I think if a team of that caliber goes, and as much as I love them, but I like after the elite like disappointment they had, and obviously they wouldn't have been happy with it. Like if they'd have gone there and been upset by a team and maybe not won it, like if they'd lost to this race team, then I think you can stomach that. But if there'd been like a huge upset, then they'd have probably started questioning themselves. It's almost like a lose-lose for them. Like, or if they wouldn't have won, it'd have been like a double whammy. Like it could have spiraled into a lot more. And yes, some negative comments, but they done their job. Like they're expected to win, they won, and to be fair, they all look fantastic as well.
They did have some close maps though, didn't they? There was a few 3-0s that they had, but I remember there was a 250-235. There's 3-2s in the control, and when you look back at the series, you think it's a 3-0, but it is a close 3-0. I think the one where I sat with you guys on the couch after, I think that was off the back of a 3-0. Or was it a 3-1? No, it must have been a 3-0 because I think your guys didn't drop any maps until grand final.
No, we dropped one. We dropped an S&D, didn't we?
to V7. Was that a 6? No, that was.
Oh,
was
that's
in
the
the
terminal.
final.
That was a 6-3, I think, wasn't it? I think it was a 6-3. Yeah, when Loz, Azza, and those guys, I think CJP had a big map as well. They were a great team to watch, by the way. Like hype-wise,
My favourite.
Yeah, they were so entertaining to watch. I think they're like a prime example of a team that thrive under pressure and being underdogs. Because when they in that search and destroy, when they were rolling, like you could see, they were very, very emotive in the way they played, and I think it gave them that extra kind of 10% that they wouldn't have necessarily had, say, online.
I don't Major won't know, will he? Jack knows what's probably on my brain. You won't know. So you know the V. I can say it now because it's coming out today. But you know the V7 roster. Did you see the viral clip of Shawnee standing up at Powerhouse? In their
Yes,
series.
yeah, that's the one where he's pointing right in his face. That was in the passion pit underneath, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah. So this gets one even better, right? So 22 esports roster splits after this event. Powerhouse and Loot are at LF2. Powerhouse has performed the ultimate shithousery and took 2 of Sean's teammates. He's with Azza and Loz.
No,
Oh, it's incredible.
Oh, that is brutal. That.
I'm surprised that no one's picked up that CJP though. I thought he was their best player.
That roster shouldn't have split for me. I thought they were great. They looked great online against us, so I don't know why they've split.
It doesn't make sense off the bat. I suppose it's one of those where in challenges you're kind of looking for like springboards, and LAN is like a good example of trying to get that next step up. So it's difficult. Like you want to see them like push on to see if they can do well as a 4, but at the same time, if an opportunity comes up, it's difficult potentially to turn it down. I know it's easy. I think it's easier said than done to say stay as a team, because if that opportunity for like a consistent top 16 set of players or top 8 set of players does come up, I think you'll find people team hop like quickly. I remember Felix in MW2. He bounced very quickly from team to team. So it's one of those where I think it's hard. I suppose it's like work, really, isn't it? It's like if you get your biggest pay rises when you move, for the most part. As much as it is like a honeymoon story to stay as a core 4. Again, if the right person comes knocking with the right organ, the right opportunity, it can be a bit like, I can't turn this down. Sorry, boys.
The right pro points. Sean tweeted out, I'm looking at it here, you guys. Lost my head with this one. People choosing pro points over skill. And I couldn't work out 2 days ago where they were going. But yeah, so Loz and Azza have gone to Powerhouse and Luto for pro points.
Oh,
If
of course.
Shawnee's verdict's correct.
Because they've got the elite pro points, ain't they? But the team's
So-
split, so
Yeah, so they got well. This gets actually no, they won't, will they? But yeah, 2.5k pro points for Lewis and Powerhouse, so that's 5k between them just from that, and then a top 48 at Boston. So they've got to be pushing like 8k pro points each, and I mean that's massive.
That's big on seeding. Do we know what's happening with Cruel and Zappy then? Because Cruel, like
Yeah.
I remember seeing Cruel in Elites, and he was kind of like the standout performer. When they were getting thumped, it was usually Cruel was kind of breaking even or doing the best in the matches that I saw anyway. And I know kind of like the come up that Zappy's had over the past year or so. So they're obviously gonna stick as a duo. Is there anything that's come out of that yet that you guys know?
Yeah, he's with Vega and Lampy, and 22 Esports are keeping both rosters under them. One roster's going to be
Ooh.
named 22 Amethyst. The other
Right.
wanted to go as 22 Esports, but the owner told me that both teams are on a level playing field and there wasn't an A and B. So I flagged the issue. Like, if you've got one called 22 Esports and then one 22 Esports Amethyst, I was like, to me, that main I'd perceive that as 22 Esports being the main roster. So they was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to deal with this. They're definitely going to have to choose a name.
that's a bit
I
of
think
a
they're going to be
mouthful, though,
22
isn't it?
Emerald. Yeah, but they do that in like their grassroots teams. So they've had like
Yeah.
Amethyst,
Yeah.
like 22 Amethyst, 22 Top Asset, 22 Emerald. Like the list the list goes on. I mean, they've had like 12 teams at once, but yeah. And then they have like, it's pretty cool because then the logo, like they have the bear, don't they? And then like the jumper on the bear goes to like the matching color of the team name. So like, and you could build a lot of merch around that as well. Like, so I like the idea, but yeah, it's a mouthful.
Yeah, their hoodies are class, by the way. Like me and Pabs always say, those hoodies, like the kind of, I like minimalist clothing anyway, with kind of like either something small on it. I don't like the kind of huge picture stuff, but with their kind of logo in the middle, I think that hoodie's really, really clean.
Yeah,
they do some good merch there.
Still
Well-
waiting for mine.
Yeah, waiting for the store to open, mate. I want to get one as well. It's class.
Same, mate.
It's a bit-
Same.
do you know what? Like, I know it's a lot of work, yeah, but it has been like over a year since they were meant to launch their store. So 22, get your fucking ass together and like get that store up so we can order our hoodies.
That's
Couldn't
a
agree more.
that's a good team though, with Lampy and Vega, because I mean that Atlas Lions team, I have no issue in saying that I was gassing for them to do well in that tournament. Like Vega as a bloke, he's so sound. He always comes up after the game, especially if he's won.
Yeah.
He's like Cheshire cat, big smile,
Yeah.
really chatty. Again, Rico really sound, and me and Pabs have like that underlying favoritism towards Smudge. Like Smudge and Felix are kind of like the two players that we've kind of come up with. Obviously, Smudge started playing, I think we cast Smudge when he was 15, maybe just turned 16. And then this year he's like, finally, Major, I'm 18, I can play. And that roster, like Lampy, I was not familiar with that lad's talent. Like, he is very, very good, very quick as well. Like, watching that team with Vega, like Vega's a naturally fast player, but them two as a duo, and then Smudge and Rico kind of being the more preserved, that looked like a very like clean knit roster as a unit. And yeah, as a team of four in LAN, considering they got stitched together kind of last minute to come third, I think it was, they came in the end.
Yeah.
They looked so good. And I remember speaking to Smudge before it, that he doesn't play respawn. Like, Smudge only grinds Surge.
Yeah.
And he was having controls where he was like 22 and 6 and absolutely flying at people. Like, he is a quality player, Smudge. I don't know kind of where he's at in his head about how he thinks how good he thinks he is. But for a player that's not been kind of on those big teams yet, because we kind of saw it with Felix and MW2 when he ended up playing with Gizmo and those guys, and took quite a big jump with them guys. I think there's a huge price on being able to play with like those top 4 core like teams and the players on those teams. I think you talk about kind of steps up into COD, like you've got kind of your casual gamers, and then you've got competitive, and then there's like, I would say 3 or 4 tiers that you work your way up. And that top tier, if you can get into that, I think you learn a huge amount. I mean, there's a reason why like Wee Man and those guys are so consistent at winning and constantly getting top 2, top 3 win. I think they've won three now, big tourneys on the bounce now. I think that
Three-
Omit
three-
roster.
They've won
Like,
all of the big online tournaments, mate. They're
Yeah.
taking the absolute Michael with it. Can they give someone to someone else?
Yeah. But that's the thing. I think if Smudge gets on a team where somebody can like coach him well,
Yeah.
because he's gone into that in respawn, kind of seeing how it goes, and it obviously went very, very well for him. But if he can get like a mentor on a team, if he does decide to really push competitive, um, I think his ceiling is very, very high. He's a very smart player. I don't think people realize that. I think people think he's a naturally gifted player. But I think there's a reason why he's very good at search and destroy, because he's got the brain for the game. He's not just got kind of that raw aggression and speed and like cracked ability. He's got the ability to go big in maps, but I think there's a lot more to him as a player that I think people overlook. And it wouldn't surprise me if he does try to give comp a proper good go, if he ends up on a top 4 team within a year and a half. I think it's just a case of trying to bed himself in with a good core team that he can grow with. And then I know we kind of alluded about it before about making the jump. But if he can then make that jump to a big team where he can really start to learn, I think he'll be a quality player. Real, like furiously, he made huge strides in that short space of time. He was again another player who, because he teamed with Niall in Vanguard, didn't he? With that kind of, me and Pablo kind of lauded them as the S&D team.
Yeah.
With, was it Niall? It was Niall, Liam, and then Rafi and Grad. Like they were the S&D team that we kind of looked at, and we're seeing it this year as well with Rafi. Actually, like his respawn gameplay has been brilliant. And he's kind of made that transition of being very good and very consistent at search, and now he's showing it on a clutch rain roster that I think a lot of people might have kind of thought. That I think there's a few weaknesses in that team. So yeah, there's a lot of positives from that old team as a 4. I think it was the Originals, were they called?
I can't even remember, mate. To be honest, I didn't
it was
watch
the
that much challenges back in Vanguard, so it's like, yeah.
I've got something hot for you now. Like we're on the Katana topic, right? Katana have just announced their new team roster. Have you seen it?
No.
No.
Yeah,
I knew,
so
I knew it was getting changed. I haven't actually seen what the roster was.
it's TK, Dashi, and then 2 of that team that got disqualified from the elite, Flexi, and then I don't know how to say his last name, that FKK and Jeremiah or something his name is.
Weren't they that Flexi the one who got? They said was like cheating.
Yeah, I was going to say, was he the one that's been done for?
No, it was Fusion, I think.
Ah,
I think that was Fusion.
Give
Yeah,
me
and
the
then they're
Fs,
being
mate.
coached by Keith.
Keith Diddle.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Keith Diddle's the official coach of the roster, so that's some hot news.
I hope we see more Keith Diddle content in general. To be
he's
honest,
so sound, by the way. I'd never spoken to
Yeah.
Keith in my life before I went to LAN, and he's just one of those people that you could. I think you speak to him once, and it's like it feels like you've known him for ages. He's like so easy to speak to. Like you guys all know, kind of at the LAN, there's a lot of people that are very shy and very timid and kind of to themselves. So when you get someone that comes up to you and is very approachable, it's quality to see. And he's one of those people where I think if he keeps his stream going, because I think he's just got that natural ability to keep a conversation going and keep it interesting as well. Like I didn't speak to him for huge amounts, but the short kind of interactions that I had with him, he is a sound guy, and he's a good laugh as well. So yeah, I enjoyed very much having a chat with Keith.
yeah, good
Great.
lad. Good lad.
Mm.
I guess we can jump back to a couple of things. Who was your favourite person from the Katana Lan? You don't have to say us, obviously. Don't worry. Like, it's all right.
No pressure.
Yeah.
Can it be? Does it have to be someone like new, or someone who I've met before, or can I list off a few? Because I feel bad not mentioning like multiple people.
Of course.
I mean, obviously, every time, because I've known him for so long now, and every time I get to meet him, he's class. You guys know all about him. Pablo is quality. Like I have so much love for that man. He is so funny to be around, and you just talk to him for hours and hours. So obviously, I'll shout out Pablo. I won't gas him up too much because I know he'll self-deprecate himself, and he'd just like no. I'm a horrible human being. But yeah, he was obviously great to chat to, and you guys as well, especially. Having a chat across the rope. The infamous, no, you can't come back here. But yeah, you guys obviously all very sound people as well. Angel, very easy to talk to as well. Mel, met her in Sheffield, and again, I always have a good laugh with Mel. Gabby is another person who for someone who doesn't take themselves too seriously, I enjoy being around people who like will kind of have a laugh, have a joke. As much as we're there for business, I always kind of resort back to just being a bit of a tit. So I'll naturally gravitate around people that are kind of similar. I saw my duo in Hams as well, Aqua. I've known him for ages now. It's difficult because I am so far down in the south, like bottom right, that there's very few people that are kind of around me that I know very well from COD. So seeing so many people that I've had a lot of interactions with online, or people who have been in my streams for ages, like I didn't really get a chance to speak to him, to be honest, actually, which was Katana George. I don't know if you guys know of him or whatever, but so he has been in my streams since day dot, like in Cold War. I think he's been subscribed for like 2 years. He's got like the special badge, and he's always in the stream. He's always like, "Hi, Major, how you been?" I feel really bad. I didn't get much of a chance to speak to him that weekend. So hopefully, if there is another one, I will make it my absolute mission to go and speak to George, because again, he's another person who I've known for so long. There's so many people just in that building.
Yeah,
That I was like, I have
Yeah.
had so many conversations with. Again, Vega, lovely bloke. Rico, Smudge. I had a quick chat with Brindy as well at the end. He's a very sound lad. Yeah, there's so many people, man. I think I'd end up listing everyone in the venue.
yeah.
It's just one of those, isn't it? It's like it's a very cliche thing to do, but it's just the way it is. I didn't come across one person that whole time that I was like, nah, didn't really vibe with you, to be honest. I think everyone was absolutely sound in that place. Yourselves included.
Cheers,
Yourselves
mate.
included.
I think it's one of the nicest environments for like a competitive, I guess a competitive environment that I've ever been in. That obviously there was a lot of like shit talking that, but that's part of the game, right? And then afterwards, everyone's like fine with it. I don't think there was any fights, nothing like that. So it's like, what more could you ask for?
That was something I had a chat with Pabs and Heffy before the event, and where I am, I know kind of like in and around Maidstone, there's a couple of places when people have a few drinks. It's the same with most areas. They have a few drinks, and you see people getting scraps, and you're like, why? Like everyone's here to have a good time. Why would you end up causing a problem? And I did look at the venue at first and think, oh, you've got people kind of getting a bit argy-bargy on stage and obviously having a bit of shit talk. And you've got the bar, which obviously a lot of people were milking drinks from. Shout out Trey, who had, God knows, I don't know how many he had at that point, but he had the blue lip syndrome, which usually means he's had a hell of a lot of those blue lagoons. I thought instantly when I saw the bar, I was like, oh, people having a few drinks. Like you're probably bound to have one knob who's going to try and cause a problem, but not at all. It was always the same. It was competitive atmosphere. You're in the game, and then as soon as it's out, no matter how much you've been shouting at each other and giving each other shit, everything I saw was always fist bumps, crack on, and go and have a chat. It might have been different in other games that I've missed, but
Might have been good you were on butter on the passion pit and not in it, mate, because there's a couple of series at the end there that admins had to keep between. They got a bit
Really?
dicey,
I didn't know those.
yeah. I think the main one was like TK and one of the lads off No Scrims, just passion. Like apparently,
yeah, that was rough.
apparently, bad words were said at like the end of it when they were doing their classic, their shit talking map one, like No Scrims, just passion one. They got really loud. The next two they lost the series, and Dashy was like, "Don't you ever scream at me again and lose the series." And then there was a bad word said back and all. Before I knew it, I couldn't even record it. There was 4 admins just between both teams. So
Oh,
Yeah,
mate,
we
I
couldn't
missed
even
that.
get round. We couldn't even get round to see the reaction. There was just so many people there.
I thought I was in a club at like 4 a.m. Like, it was like a mosh pit.
Break it up, break it up.
Yeah, so
Oh,
it happens, don't it?
That's annoying. I missed that.
Admins are on point. No, I mean it was a good job you did, mate. There wasn't the room for no one else in there.
Yeah, those admins put a hell of a shift in, by the way. Like Ryan was up and down the stairs. He was always like, okay, these are the series we've got. Like me and Pabs are so potato brain sometimes that things have to be spelled out bit by bit. And my weakness in COD is brackets and kind of like what games play at the same time, especially when things fall behind schedule. I'm like, right, okay, what game can we work out? And Ryan, bless him, must have spent about 15 minutes trying to get it through my thick head as to like why we were covering one game and not the other and all this other stuff. And I was like, no, but why aren't we casting that one? And he sat down with the bracket and he was explaining it to me, and I was there with my pen, like trying to work it out. And then finally we got to, and I was like, okay, thank you. He must have explained it about 4 times. So yeah, bless him for that. But yeah, all of those admins, Heffy has got one quality team there under him. Like all of those guys that were there enjoying themselves, but doing their job as well. And I think it gets, again, we kind of spoke about Ben and Jacko and Jib as well. The guy on production did a really good job. Those admin guys, again, people that you take for granted in some of these tournaments. I mean, how many times have we seen kind of tweets about a bogey admin at like one of the LAN events who's just messed it for someone? And those, I think Heffy had maybe 20 guys there working with him that weekend. Like, that's a team and a half. There's a lot of people, and he's done well to find 20 quality people to be able to kind of bring this product together, because it's not necessarily easy to do.
Yeah, I'm
No.
wondering how many we can steal. That's
Yeah.
like, thanks for finding them, Hef. Like, we'll take them now.
Oh,
No, I wouldn't do. Oh, I wouldn't do that. That was a joke. That was a joke.
Jack and Rogue as ever. I love it.
Uh,
You can clip that and put it in the trailer. Like,
Yeah.
we're coming for you.
yeah.
Oh, quality.
Honestly, I shouldn't open my mouth sometimes. Like, you know, when you say something, you're like, oh shit.
That was a bad idea.
But it happened the other day when we were doing the women's circuit game, and like I'm sitting there and like I'd had a couple of drinks, but I was knackered as well, so like I was just waffling, and then there was a name that I made a pun about, and it didn't go down very well.
Oh, no, is it one you can repeat? Because I've not seen this.
The player's called Gillette, and like she's unbelievable. She's quality, but I think Jack made the reference to like the shaven frame Gillette, and he was like, it's just for men or something
Like,
like
the
that.
best a man can get, right?
Yeah, that was
And like,
It, like,
I was like, why have I
shovels,
said that?
Okay, I'll see myself out.
yeah. Which I think some of the I don't know if that was a comment there, because I actually spoke to
No.
Holly. I not spoke to you, Jack, but I was like, oh yes, the opposition team said like they weren't very happy with like after the map won. And Holly said there weren't no issue in the comments, just about that we're being biased. And I was like, but it was a watch party for the team that Jack owns, so I think there's going to be a bit of a bias there. So
Yeah.
I don't think there was any issues. I don't think that's a bad comment, to be honest. It was just like, Jack, that's a dad joke, that one, mate.
No, me and Pablo make them all the time, mate. You're fine. You're fine. You're all good. On the kind of the topic of women's COD, like, there are some really good players now. Like, when Cold War started up, so Mel Murky, she was playing in Cold War. She was a good player back then. I ran a couple of GBs with her. And now we've got kind of a big group of female COD players that are slowly coming in one at a time. I mean, there's so many. You've got Lauren, Pre, Angel, Murky. There's so many of them now that are shooters as well. And like, I've come across, again, there's even been women COD players in ranked that I'm like, I've got absolutely spat on. The rounds ended, and like, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a name that I've not seen before, and they're absolutely frying. So I think this assumption that women's COD is not necessarily one that's the most talented. I mean, there are a lot of them out there that could probably body about the best 95% of us. Like,
Oh, 100%.
and that Sakura series has been really, really good, I think, for
Yeah.
kind of getting some eyes on it. Obviously, you've got the women's WXC as well. Kels, a prime example of like a quality female COD player, who is. I dread to think how many heads she's taken in her time of playing Call of Duty, but she was kind of playing in a time where there wasn't that much eyes on women's COD, or kind of, I think, kind of there was a bit of a fear for probably the girls playing to put themselves out there to play for whatever reason, because you do get knobheads who will just to the kitchen, all this other bollocks. But we've now got a really big set of female COD players who are A, lovely people, and B, very fucking good at the game. Like, there was a good turnout. I was surprised at the LAN as well. A lot of the girls showed up. I think Savannah was there. I've not spoken to Savannah, but she was there. Again, Mel was there. Angel was there. There was a lot of the girls there showing up, which is really, really good to see, and obviously interacting with everyone, and they looked very comfortable themselves. So I think we're kind of blessed now, where it seems to be getting bigger and bigger. Like,
Yeah.
every week it feels as though there's another kind of name thrown in the ring, who seems very good, and it's good to see kind of all the switcheroos and the co-eds and all this stuff now. It's like there's no kind of lack of female players willing to take part in some of these tournaments, which is really good to see. I think when they first started doing co-eds, you had like maybe 4 or 5 female players, and then kind of a hell of a lot of like the guys trying to take part in it as well. But it would always be, you'd have loads of guys left because there wasn't any female players. Whereas now we've got like a really, really good core of female gamers. Again, talented ones as well at that.
I think like one of the reasons you said it, like you said the name, I think like Kels and Amelia Rose from from when
Yeah.
I used to play like Black Ops 4 Cold War before then, I feel like they sort of paved the way, right? I've spoke to like Megana, and even she said, and no other players have, like, seeing Kels, like what she done, how far she gone, it was like really like they really found it motivating, and like if she can stream, she can be on camera, you know, she can get through all the negative comments, and they all can. So I feel like Kels and Amelia Rose and like all them female players there, that them few we had that you said, I feel like they really paved the way and have done like huge things for that scene. And you said Secura as well. Like the stuff they're doing in grassroots right now is huge, and
Yeah.
I love this. I love that scene, by the way, and I'm hoping that
So
they
good.
can have their own LAN event or something. To be honest, because I feel like we're getting there. I feel like there's a need for it. So, Hefe, you might get a DM soon, mate.
Yeah, I think it's always kind of that first kind of the first step is the hardest one. I think when you have maybe 3 or 4 female COD players that are in the spotlight quite a lot, obviously getting a lot of shit, but then showing that they can still push on and be very, very good players, and then naturally you've got kind of this swarm of people that are slowly starting to warm towards it as well. Like it's just something that you can't have any bad from it really with the representation now that we've got across the scene. And so I've got nothing bad to say about any of them. Any of the girls are just phenomenal. I will say though, Holly, by the way, Chunk's missus, she scares the shit out of me. By the way, I remember watching. She's like, I'm not scary. She's scary, right? I was watching a stream. I can't remember who she was playing with. And somebody on her team kept calling people one shot, and they weren't one shot. I've got a really bad habit of doing it as well. If I'm having a rough game, just out of habit, I'll be like, oh, one shot, absolute, or whatever. And he's not. And it takes 2-3 bullets. And my mates will be like, he wasn't one shot. Holly was playing a game, and somebody commed one shot multiple times. And she was like, if you fucking call it one shot again, I'll bury you. I was like, oh my God. And I played a ranked game with her and Noonie, Terry Yoggs. And I was like, bro, she scares me so much. And she was like, I'm lovely. I'm not horrible, I promise. But no, she's again another player who, I think she's Crim, isn't she, now in ranked? Like she's a hell of a player as well. Another prime example. There's a lot of them about now, and I think we're going to see more of them.
I agree. I think like even like the Sakura circuit, obviously this season's finishing soon. The next season will be starting in like the next couple of weeks. They've already expanded it, so you've got the Premier circuit, which is like the teams that have been playing for a while, and then you've got like an intro circuit now as well. So like
all the newcomers.
Exactly, which is great because then like you're all in the same boat. Like you're all just starting out on your like competitive journey. So like obviously Abby, who's part of Noctem, she's going to be playing in the entry level because she hasn't really done much comp COD outside of like ranked and a few scrims, I think.
She's a good personality though, from what I've seen. Again, there's a lot of these girls about that have got really, really good and like kind of naturally like warming personalities where you want to watch their stream, and I think she's exactly the same. She's just naturally chatty, really easy to get on with. It's not an easy thing when you stream to kind of keep conversation going, especially if it's just you. Like there is a knack to it. But there's so many of these girls now that are streaming, they're interactive with chat, and they're growing rightfully so from it.
Yeah, and like shout out Copy obviously for bringing her to our attention.
That's all I do.
She was at that. She went to the LAN as well, I think, didn't she?
Yeah. So we had
Coops is a good egg.
Coops, Angel, and then obviously like on the women's side of things, like we've got Holly, Megan, Lana, and Lauren, and like
Lana's a good player as well. Like, Lana is very good from what I've seen. I've only seen little bits in and out of streams, but yeah, she's fluid, very, very good. Again,
Our squad's a piss take.
Yeah, again, another player that I didn't actually know kind of much about her until this year, and I was watching her a few scrims through some of the other girls' streams, and yeah, she's a fucking quality player as well.
She's only 17 as well.
Is she?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if I've just baited her out, but but no, like I mean, because with the women's and Call of Duty roster, or what is it, WXC? I keep saying women and Call of Duty, but yeah, WXC, the first EU roster to qualify was this year.
Yep.
3 from Noctem, 1 from the Pit, You love it?
Go on, Murky.
Shout out, Mel.
Fly,
We love
fly
Mel
that
around
flag. Fly that flag, Mel.
I don't. They're struggling a bit getting used to the ping differences, right? But hopefully, as they get
Yeah,
some more scrims under their belt, they'll be.
Yeah, I didn't realize they had to play on NA ping for every single game
Yeah.
as well. Oh, that's rough. Like, anyone who's played with me, right? My crim is pinging. I get 3 ping, right, on my host, and people look at it like, "What the? How have you got that?" And like, whenever I've played on anything that's above 20, it feels like ropey compared to what I'm used to. So if they're playing on, it's got to be what 80 ping minimum that they
Yeah.
play on.
Yeah, I feel like 90 minute pushing 100.
Yeah, because
mate.
so you can veto a host, right? So most teams veto East Coast against them because, like, obviously East Coast is where they get the best ping.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
like,
yeah. So
even
take it
if-
straight to the other side of America and double
West
it.
Coast.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I get it, but also like
That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
you should like minimum East Coast. You're still going to ping better than we are. But,
hmm
you know, that's just
the
me.
fear, mate. The EU gal have got it. Like, they are good. They're good players, and it doesn't surprise me if there is a bit of gamesmanship to try and nullify them. Because yeah, I think that group of players, even if you kind of switch one out for another, if you take one out and put another one in, I think you're replacing one good player with another good player. So it doesn't surprise me that there might be a little bit of we'll try and nullify the talent that these girls have got because they have got it in abundance.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It's exciting for the future, right? Like, the more women we can get into the scene, the bigger the player base is going to be. And, like,
Yeah.
I'd like to see lots more Kelsa Rooney's in the elites in the future as well.
Yeah.
100%.
Good little segue there, Jack. Thanks, Jack. In the elites, right? Obviously it's just finished. Sorry.
He's so happy with himself.
Good job, Jack. Good job.
Cheers. Elite playoffs just finished. We've just had Omit win against Timor in the finals. Pretty
4-0.
dominating fashion, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
we start with the final. Were you expecting it to be closer?
Yes.
Yes.
No, I wasn't actually.
Ah.
I wasn't. I just think that Omit team at the moment has looked good for a bit of time now, and I think War have struggled for quite a bit of time now. Part of me actually was expecting War to kind of get top 3 and Clutch Rain to maybe push in. I think if Clutch Rain didn't have another tweak in the team, I think that Clutch Rain team has kind of started off a little bit slow at the start of the year, obviously with the removal of Brezzy as well. In that team, and they're still loitering around that top 3 area, but they've kind of had like a few shining light performances from the like of Henry, Twiz, Rafi. They've been quite consistent, but Team War at the moment, I never know what you're going to get with them. Like on paper as a team, they should be mustard, like, and they should be pushing that Omit roster. But there's just something about Omit at the moment that just looks so good. I know obviously now there's another kind of cat amongst the pigeons, as Pabs usually uses the phrase, but that Omit roster look very, very good. Like, I mean, how many times have we got to watch Wee Man just absolutely batter teams? Like, he's just so consistent. Like, it's all well and good having a good map and a good series, but Wee Man throughout God knows how many CODs now on the Notorious roster last year, again, phenomenal. They literally named the map of Breenberg Hotel after him because the amount of times that he was on that map just destroying teams. It's just like, pick him up, please. Someone pick the man up. Like, it's criminal when you see other people getting in, and I'm like, this bloke is phenomenal all the time. Like, if you see Wee Man have a bad map, you're like, something's gone horrendously wrong there.
It's funny you say that because he tweeted out something really interesting yesterday. Someone was like, "Oh, the series KD for that Omit roster, they'd been outslayed massively." But he said, how many 1.3s do you see in challenges, like 1.3 KD players that just don't transition well to the league? It's like they can still win whether they're outslaying or they're not outslaying. Like, pick up that whole bloody roster, mate.
Well, we saw it kind of with obviously Hixie. Like, he's been kind of a player that I tell you what, on his day when Hixie is frying, like he will drop a 1.3 or 1.4 on your bonds, like, and you'll know about it. But there's a lot of times where he will do dirty work with running routes as the sub player. And in MW2, again, he wasn't a player that had come off of like a challenger circuit where he was kind of doing what Scrappy had done in dropping huge KDs all the time. So, and he went into that Toronto team and then won the major at the first time of asking.
Yeah.
And he's another player that you're like, well, hang on a minute. This bloke has come in not last minute, but he's been thrown into the team. He's won a major and he's come second at champs. And you think, right, okay, what roster will he be on this year? And you're like, Hixie's not got a team. And you're like, what? Like, what more have you got to do? Like, did he have to win champs? Like, that was mental. The fact that he's not even got a slot this year at the first time of asking on a team is mental. I think that just kind of shows how hard it is for EU players to get in the league and stay in the league. It's like you've got to do something that is like unheard of. It's like if say Steve-O, for example, if he went in the league by some form of miracle, like he would have to literally go 1.5s and 1.6s in games to kind of justify a spot, which feels so wrong. Like for anyone who's played COD and watched good teams in COD, you always have those players that don't go 1.5, 1.6 all the time. Fair enough, you'll have a Slayer from like the roster that normally people look to, like a Formal, those kind of guys. But you've still got the Karmas who are doing the dirty work, and that is like the chemistry. You can't form a COD team of 4 players who drop 1.5s all the time. It doesn't work. Like you can put together an absolute monster team with KDs, and they'll just get absolutely hammered because their play styles won't fit right. And I think that's why this Omit team are just so good. They seem to have a slot for every player in every position that they need. That again, with the talent, proves why they are the top team in Europe at the moment. Because at the start of the year, I thought it was all Bants and those guys.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to see a year where it was like, right, okay, they'll probably get picked up, but again, one player comes out, another goes in Harry, business as usual. But it's not been like that at all. Like the Steve Vortex curve, it just does that over the year. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going and going. And then eventually when you get to the end of the year, because he's probably kept a core of the roster, same with Wee Man. I think Wee Man was on that Notorious roster for a huge chunk of last year.
Yeah.
With Eric and those guys. And I think they saw the fruits of their labor after a while. Like they kind of towards the end of the year when teams kept changing. Like it's all well and good switching teams out and trying to improve it and mix it up. But if you keep switching like every couple of months, when it comes to champs, if you're playing a team that knows what they are doing the time because they've got so many reps with each other, it's like second nature. I don't think you can put kind of a value on that at all. And I think that's what Omit have pretty much got now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if them 2 players aren't in the league this year, pretty soon, to be honest, then it's scandalous. I don't see how they don't. They've won every major online tournament in the EU this year, looking unbelievable. I don't see a world with how them bottom 4 or 5 teams are playing in the CDL where a Ravens or someone come pick them 2 up.
Thing is that you need like let's play some fantasy GM here, right? Say Steve-O and Wee Man go to the league. What team do they go to, and who do you put alongside them?
Well, this is the problem. Like looking at a lot of them teams this year, I perceive it as that isn't the players putting them rosters together. Is the GMs.
Yeah.
But I can't see Gorillas. I'd be shocked if Gorillas spent any more money. The issue with Surge is that I assume RC's and Hughes contracts and Illy's are absolutely mahoosive. So
Yeah,
are they
they're
going to want to
gonna be
spend
wham.
any? Are they going to spend any more money? Probably not. So then you look into a pool of where it's probably Ravens, Rocker, or Heretics, and I can't see Heretics going outside of their Spanish Legion at the minute. So I'm really looking at Rocker or Ravens. And would Ravens come back into a player pool of what they're familiar with? Possibly. And I think the only person viable on that roster at the minute to keep their spot is Gwyn. So I don't know. I was thinking about this earlier. Cammy's looked unreal. Like Boston
Yeah.
Academy have now got money
Oh,
in
yeah.
anyone. Could you see like the Scottish duo? I don't know if the dynamic will work of like Shawnee and Cammy from there with like Wee Man and Steve. Like I don't know, but it's a nice thought. But I honestly think them 2 will get picked up. I can't see a world in where it don't make sense, to be honest, where Wee Man and Steve aren't in the league this year. If they're not, I might have to give someone some money.
I think the thing is for me, like I would, if I'm a team that is struggling in the CDL and there's not really like an amazing, outstanding player, I look at Omit and I take the team of 4.
Yeah.
Like, because you're just
Yeah.
introducing problems by taking 2 and then saying, right,
Mhm.
okay, we've got to kind of shoehorn Cammy into this roster, or we've got to try and get someone else in. I think if you've got a team of 4 that have demonstrated that all their roles work, like now Mythics has kind of come off of that sub role and they've put Real in. Mythics has been unreal, like since Real's
Yeah.
come into this roster, because he's been able to play the game that he's most comfortable with. But I look at that and I'm like, you've got a core 4 of players who are doing so well in challenges. Don't cherry pick a couple to try and make it work with another player that you might think will form it. I think you bite the bullet and you bring the 4 across. It's just one of those. I think
You bring the
obviously,
coaching staff with them, though.
yeah. I think
That-
you. I don't
Is
think
it-
you
is it
whole
break.
package.
Roper and
Everything.
Raiders.
Everything. Mythics as well. Like,
Mm.
I wasn't just saying them 2 specifically. I said yesterday on stream, like the whole roster should be there, but I
Yeah.
can't see a dynamic with the general managers of the franchise spots
No.
where that happens.
No, they
But
won't.
yes, the entire Omit roster, import it with Roper, with Raiders, whatever other background stuff they've got, and they'd compete. They would not. I do not think they'd be in a bottom 4 team right now. I don't think they'd be in the bottom 4. Them bottom 4 teams in the CDL look absolutely crap.
Yeah.
So
Do you though? I don't know. Do you wait until after Miami, see how they do at Miami? Because like if we're honest, the core of that roster didn't do fantastic
Yeah.
in Boston, but all of EU
I
didn't,
think
right? It's not
I
like
was about to say the only thing I think they're missing now is the LAN performance. I think that's why, like me and Pablo, whenever we watch LAN, we are EU flag up and waving, like we don't give a shit about the NA guys, because we know how hard it is for EU players to get opportunities, and you know the consensus is if they go to LAN and they don't have a good LAN, nothing will really kind of fabricate from it. I think you've got to go to LAN and perform against the NA team, because I think there is still that consensus of, yeah, EU has got good players, but if you can't prove it on LAN, then that it just gets disregarded. You onliner, or yeah, well, you know, you're showing it in challenges, but CDL's a complete different step up, which I don't exactly buy, to be honest. There's a lot of players that have come into the CDL this year. I mean, I would argue that Scrappy is the best player in the CDL at the moment, and he's come off of challenges. But he managed to do it at LAN, and that's how he got himself a good opportunity. Fair play to him, and he's hit the ground running, which isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do. But it's just that I think the last piece of the puzzle has to be a LAN victory. I don't even think you can get a top 3 and kind of go, oh, I think they're going to be sniffing around us. I think you've got to win the LAN, like with the FaZe Black roster, with Asim and those guys. I think you've got to demonstrate that you can do it on LAN. If you can't, I don't think they look at you, to be honest.
yeah, but my only argument with that with Boston is that they lost to FaZe Black in winner's side, who were unbelievable, and half of them are now in the league, or sorry, Seams in the league, and then they also lost to Law Gaming. I mean,
first and second they lost it.
yeah. So like,
And
I don't know
they've
if
done
you
it
can look at
before.
that as a top 12.
No, I know they've done it before as well, right? Like Weeman's won on LAN. He won last year. Did Vortex win an event last year on LAN?
No, I don't think so.
But he's done it
No.
before, right?
It was the Notorious guys that won, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was
LAN?
with was it Aphelium? Was it
Oh yeah.
last year? Yeah.
And like-
Wingman was on the Notorious roster with the 2 Spanish players.
Yeah.
I think you're right though. Like, say they go to Miami and win it. It's in like 2 weeks, right? How does that 4 and like the staff not get picked up? Like, there's teams struggling. Like you've all said, how do you not? Unless
They
they
will.
can't get visas. But obviously Real's not there anymore, and Hicksy's taken his place. So if they win the cup this weekend, go to Miami, win it.
With how good Omit are, like, I can only assume, I don't know the facts. I'm assuming like the acquisitions have cost some money, right? Like, have they done a similar thing to what Awoba done last year with like a boozer and that, where they've already got the visas in place, they've already spent that money? Like, are these players ready to go to the league? I don't know. Maybe.
Possibly, but I mean, it's a big investment to pay for. Like,
Oh yeah, I completely agree, but I don't know what lengths they go to. I'm just spiraling, but I mean, they might be league ready. I don't know. I don't know where else they dive. I don't think there's anyone else in the EU that dive into. maybe apart from Beans, I think Beans has had an exceptional year, and Pixie has as well. To be fair, stat wise, maybe them two, and then you just got to look at the Omit roster. And I don't know if anyone else, maybe Cobra, but I just think you look at Omit first. I don't see a world where they don't, to be honest.
Yeah, it must be like rough for Cobra as well, because he was phenomenal in Vanguard. Like, my only memories of like Bocage Hardpoint was Cobra dropping like 30, 40 kills all the time on that map. Like, he is I think he's the only player now out of that Awobabob's roster that hasn't got to the league.
Yeah.
Because you've got Linza's gone, Brezi's gone, and Abuza's gone as well.
Be a good shout. With the amount of them French players that are in there, are they in any of their, coaches, GMs' ears? Like, go get Cobra, go get Cobra is incredible. Like,
It's like you say about that Surge roster, right?
yeah,
If they drop like one, maybe two of the, who else is our cities and who's the other one?
Hook.
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 I mean, you could have.
Oh wait, no, is it Hook or is it Illy? Am I going?
Right,
No,
Illy's on the subs bench.
Illy's on the
Yeah.
sub bench.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Do you,
And
do you
then-
just run Illy, bring Illy back and run him with the French?
I
Cobra.
mean, maybe. And then I think another variable that I haven't talked about is LA Thieves. I think potentially that I don't really like the dynamic of the two English and like the two NA players. I always think there's always something lost in translation. I like to see like one nationality on a roster, and I wonder with Nasty being like one of their latest inducted players, if that roster by the end of the year does look like an all English roster, and then maybe like Nasty's like drafting Beans, drafting Hixie, go look at Omit.
I mean, yeah, that
Maybe
that
I
roster-
don't know.
I think there's so many combinations of just English players you could pair with Afro and Nasty as well. But like, you're never going to drop Ghosty, right? That's a
No.
You just don't know. But then you've got like as well, you've got Shawnee and Cammy as well that have just won the elite in the NA, like representing the UK. So I'd be shocked if after stage 2 there isn't more UK players or European players in the league.
How many stages have we got this year? Is it 4? And then
For yeah, that's another dangerous part, right? I said this. I think if you don't get picked up after stage 2, and with the way the CDL's currently looking, with it being the last year of buy-ins, do any franchises even bother investing any money? Because after stage 2, probably 6 of the 8 spots for champs are going to be locked.
Yeah.
Don't know.
So much to
It's
figure.
rough. Yeah, it's like I'm at performing at the right time for me in the current structure for the year. So
I think it's just it's that LAN. I think, like you say, because Cammy's guys on Boston Breach, because they've obviously done well in their elite. Now you're looking at two teams where you can kind of make the argument for both about, right, okay, who deserves to be in it. So again, I think it will come down to that LAN. I think if either one of those teams wins it, I think that will push them in to be like, right, okay, we're in contention now, like it did with the FaZe Black roster when they won that LAN. Everyone looked at that team and thought, these players can be in the league. They've been in the league. I think the only difficulty with the Omit lads is, again, because Wee Man's not had the opportunity, and Steve-O, for God knows whatever reason, I think he must have just slept with one of the CDL owners' daughters or something. I don't know what he's got to do. I saw his tweet. Like he's done something to someone. I don't know what it is, but it's just mental. Like nobody will touch him with a sterilised barge pole from CDL, which is crazy to me, considering when you just go, all you got to do is go on COD Wiki and go on history, and it's just gold, silver, silver, gold, gold, silver, silver, silver. It's just all the way through.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to look at that LAN now and think, right, okay, I think that's where it's difficult as well for EU teams, because obviously all the travel time. I know obviously the American guys as well take a lot of travel time out, but it feels as though there's more pressure on EU guys to perform at LAN, because it's that age-old saying of, yeah, well, every time the EU guys come on LAN, they kind of flop and they don't do it as well as we do it over in the big N of A. So it's a lot of pressure on those lads. I'm just hoping that they can actually perform in that one. And again, I'm very much going to flag my or wave my EU flag up in the air to hope that they spit on every NA team when they go over there.
I mean, they've got Hixie on there as well. Like, I think that roster, they're one of the favourites for me. I don't know if I'm biased, but I think a man whose name I haven't had enough to want to say is Mythics. Like, I think he's won back to back elites. So like me keep saying Steam Wee Man might be a bit disrespectful on his part. So I mean, he has to go and
another
get a shot
Scott
on
as well. Isn't he? Scottish.
Yep.
he has to get a shot, then 3, and then you put Hixie on the team. I don't know. Just pick so someone just blow a roster up, pick the entire team up, and we'll all be happy. And then we can all have an extra season in EU and get a chance of winning something potentially as well. Just get rid of the Omit roster to the league, please, for everyone's benefit.
Yeah.
It's like buying a 4-pack of beer and picking one out. It's like, no, just pick the 4-pack. Take the 4-pack home. Like, you're just hurting yourself. Take the 4-pack. But yeah, no, Mythics is he's been so good for so long. I think he's one of those players where, because he's got an ability to be able to run sub and AR like as well as he does, he gets shoehorned into roles that isn't his best, which is kind of, it's like a double-edged sword, because he's so good at doing both. He'll go on a team and they'll be like, okay, Ben, can you pick up that role? Because we haven't really got anyone that can do it. Whereas if you put him in the role that he's comfortable on, that's when you see Mythics 30, 35 in respawns consistently as well. So yeah, he's very much a player that we've got the talent in EU. It's just, I just want to see it come together and at least have an opportunity, especially because we don't have Ravens now as a UK based team. It feels as like that slim opportunity has just got even slimmer.
Yeah.
It's just so frustrating when these guys put so much time into the game and demonstrate how good they are all the time, don't even get an opportunity at kind of like their dream job for the amount of graft that they put in. So the prize pools have already been shrunk enough, and they've kind of been pissed on in that essence. So it's like, give them an opportunity, please. Like, how many names have we seen? Pablo talks about it all the time. Of like, he calls them deadweight. I don't think they're deadweight, but they're players that have had opportunities multiple times and they get called back in when things aren't going well, and they do all right for a few series, and then they just fall back off again, and then they'll go back into challenges. And then again, when the spot arises, they'll go back up again and come back down, and they yo-yo up and down. It feels as like every single year, and you've got the other lads who just haven't had the chance to be able to do it.
I mean, I think Pablo's put it spot on, to be honest. Then bottom, I think them bottom 4 teams are getting top 24 in an open bracket.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Simple. There's no way, if it was an open bracket format, any of them players would even be team in them teams they're on right now if they had the choice. They're just all fighting for a league spot.
Yeah, it's just like they'll take a spot on a team that they know is not going to be very good chemistry wise, and B, probably not going to perform. But because they've got an opportunity on a league team, it's like, yeah, it's all smiles, it's all cuddles. Yeah, love it. We're all good. And realistically, it's like, well, no, you just, because you're clinging onto the spot that you've kind of been yo-yoing back and forth from. Yeah, it's like kind of, yeah, sharing around old chewing gum. Really, it's just not. Let's get something fresh in. Put a new piece in, please. I beg.
Oh no!
Looking under your table, what we got in here? Here we go.
Yeah,
bit
of bubble gum. It's about 3 years old, but it'll do. And you've got like the nice pack of Wrigley's Extra just waiting for you, and nobody's picking it. It's like, Jesus.
Okay.
Enjoy your next bit of chewing gum, boys. Sorry.
Cheers, mate. Right, lads, we've been going for over an hour and 15. To wrap this up, Aja, is there anyone you want to shout out? Have you got any business you want to bring up? Anything you want to ask us?
Oh, there you go. Right in the spot. Yeet. I don't know, really. I think I shouted out most of the guys that I could think of. Obviously, all the guys at Clutch. Obviously, meeting Brody and Andy for the first time. Both sound blokes, and again, they are masters of the craft. I say, me and Pablo, we get a lot of praise from people, but we are very much like surface level, I think, with certain stuff in casting, because we just it is a bit of a hobby to us. We do enjoy it, so we don't take ourselves as seriously. And then when you look at the likes of Andy and Brody and those guys, they are very meticulous in their craft, notebooks out, stats, information. Like there is a definite level to casting, which they are phenomenal at bringing. But individual wise, it's tough to put a finger on people. I'll do it again with Pabs, because I can't not praise Pabs enough. Again, he always puts himself down, and like, I kid you not, if Pabs did not come with about 19 bags of cables, we wouldn't have had a production of that LAN. Like, Pablo brought so many cables. I've never seen some of those adapters before in my life. Like, he could get like a Game Boy adapter into a USB-C. Like, he had absolutely everything within that day, and he put all the cables in. And at the end of it, he had to go and pick all of it back up again. So I've got to shout out my boy Pabs. But Yeah, I don't know. Oh, one thing I will ask, lads. I don't know if you are able to say what is happening with the Noctem roster. I will ask because obviously they went to the LAN, they won the LAN. The kind of general consensus is it's going to be a different team. But I just want to know what's happening with your guys because obviously we take a hell of a lot of interest in those lads, and they're all sound guys as well.
Well, so like, obviously Kez has gone back to Revived, and like they've done well. There's no way that team's going to break up. Niall's left.
Right.
He's now teaming with Genesis, and who's the other two?
Is it Chunk?
No. If you get just buy me 10 seconds, I can tell you. It is hopefully the information's here. It is. Just found it straight away. Niall, Maestro, Genesis, Brindu.
Oh, I've got to say, by the way, Brindy's a gamer. Like, I was so gassed to see him do well on LAN. Like, and he was so good. So quiet as a lad, but yeah, he was brilliant to see at LAN. Very, very good player. Again, one of those that you look at and go, ooh, okay. Well, everyone's just seeing what you've got. Yeah, I think he was very much overlooked. And then when that LAN came about, I think everyone seemingly looking at him a little bit more seriously now, which is credit to him. He deserves it.
Niall played in the Grands. Now he's teamed with him.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay, he's actually quite good at shooting back, this fella. Maybe I'll have him.
So we're not going to Miami. Josh has sold the team pass. Like,
what you mean? 3 weeks wasn't enough for you to get everything prepared to go over to the NFA? I'm shocked.
The amount of messages I dropped to try and see what was available, if anyone would have. Yeah, it didn't work out. It is what it is, right? We can look forward to Toronto, and we've got 2 teams in the Cup tomorrow. One team is a brand new roster, 2 Noctem. I don't even think Copy and Stingsy know about this one yet.
No.
Yeah, I'll leave that one till top secret then.
I was going to say, are you allowed to leak it or no?
Not yet. But the other one is Resi, Attain, Chunk, and Cruz.
Oh, Zhao's back.
Zhao's back.
Zhao's back.
So I think this is just like a pickup roster for this cup, but we'll see how it goes.
Yep.
But very, very chaotic team, and I love it. I can't wait to watch. Like, very, very fast, and like, I feel like this game. Why am I saying this? I know it's just going to be like top 64 tomorrow. Now I've said that.
You've done it now, Jack.
I like it on paper. Like, it's very like SMG heavy, but I also think like if the pacing's good. Did you say Skid Row?
Skid Row, Karachi boys. I mean, they can't ban both. We're going to get one of them in against Jed, Gel, and Chunk. Have fun whoever plays them.
Yeah, just going to be in your face the whole time.
I mean, they're not very secretive either, Jack.
Have they said it?
Well, no, you went in their stream last night, so I'm like, oh, Resi's streaming. This is odd. I go in there, like, I knew the roster anyway, Chunk told me, and I went in there, right, and like they're trying to hide it. And Jiao's trying to put on a Boston accent under the alias of Sloppy Joe, so no one knew he came back.
I bet he plays with that name in the cup.
Yeah, and
like, get through to Sunday, just Sloppy Joe for playing for top 6, top 4.
And then Jed wasn't even playing ranked, and he was like still in the background in comms. Josh hadn't muted it, and then Chunk just pops up. Oh yeah, Jiao, Josh, I'll hop in ranked with you. And it's like, well, everyone knows now, don't they, boys? So well done. That's exceptional stuff. But yeah, Jiao's now Sloppy Joe. That's what we have to call him.
Oh, Jesus. Well,
what's the other roster, Jack?
So is another roster for the Sakura circuit. And they're going to be playing in the Cup tomorrow under Noctem Luna.
Ooh. Is it potentially a team of 4 that I might have seen yesterday?
Quite possibly. So
the WXE team?
No. Let me. Oh, wait. Niall's team's changed again, by the way.
Shut your mouth.
Niall, Dizzy, Aspect, and Connor. Oh, they're going to Miami.
Oh my god, that's because Sleeb left that team, didn't he? He took Genesis' spot, didn't he? So now Niall has left. So now Sleeb's gone to War. Niall has took that spot. Okay.
Oh, so it's just the core 3 from Core Cat then.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Challenges roulette, baby. You gotta love it.
It won't. it's not going to stop till Miami. I wouldn't be surprised if like a player or two got picked up and flew out like the day before the event.
Wouldn't surprise me either. Yeah, Angel, Gabby, Bree, and Lauren. Roster.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's the
Shooters.
team before that I thought it
They're
might.
making Sunday.
I hope so, mate. I hope so.
If
Yeah.
they make Sunday, I'll gift 100 in Angels chat.
That
No-
is
no pressure.
recorded, cop. So you are
yeah.
That is a cider
Okay.
if I've heard it.
£6 a sub. That's 600 quid, now, isn't it?
Wait, is it £6 a sub now?
Is it 5? I don't know.
I don't know if it's 6. I might have to down that. Jesus Christ,
I
there's
think-
only
I
Chef Payne's
think-
of
Inflation, mate. It's rough.
that. Yeah, it really
Thinking
is.
about Freddos, it's all about the subs now.
Honestly. Right.
Oh,
Well, gents, should we leave it there? Because I'm getting very, very hungry. It's 20 to 9, and yeah, thank you very much, Major, for joining us. Let's do it.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for having me, guys. It's been a wonderful occasion. Thank you very much for having me.
Honestly, I feel like every time I'm on like a podcast with like COD people, we could literally just sit here for hours.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
honestly,
so
that's
many
the
to talk
beauty of
about.
COD. There's so many things you could just yabber on about.
Didn't
And
even get through the list. Yeah.
I know. I was looking at it and I was like, have we done everything? But it was just, I think the best pods always come from just when you kind of go off on tangents and grab
Oh yeah.
grab bits anyway. One thing I forgot to say is that hopefully me and Pabs will be announcing something that's really sick over the next week or so. We're just waiting on a couple of bits to come through, and we'll kind of keep an eye on the Bluebird because we will be announcing something that's very cool and
Ooh.
very surprising. Didn't really know how it landed on our laps. We're lazy buggers, but it just somehow landed smack bang on us. So yeah, keep an eye on Twitter because there's something that's we're both very proud of actually that we've been given the opportunity. So yeah, just keep an eye on that.
Amazing.
good things come to good
Love that.
people, mate.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Oh, or idiots. I think is the other way. Just give the clowns the squeaky nose and watch them perform.
Oh, incredible.